hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some frickin' money. It's time for Pocket with Jo. Good morning, everyone, and happy Sunday. Jo here of SportsGrid. It's time for Pocket with Jo over here on SportsGrid TV. Now, I know this isn't our regular time, but having to go early here as they really can't be in two places at once. I'll be live on the grid with Scott Wetzel today from noon to 2 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you come over and join us there. And because of that, I just don't have enough time to go over all of these games. You guys, we're going to go over the first three games, and then I will come back with another Pocket with Jo later this afternoon. So make sure you watch if you're looking for those games that are starting after at the 4 p.m. hour and after Eastern. Come back. I will have those for you in another show. So let's jump into those first 3 day games. So again, this show will cover the Montreal Canadiens versus the Florida Panthers, the Buffalo Sabres versus the Washington Capitals, and Vancouver, the Canucks versus the Winnipeg Jets. The rest of those games will be later. So make sure you come back later and join me for that. Let's jump into the Montreal Canadiens versus the Florida Panthers. A total of 5.5 in this one. Minus 128 to the over. We've got the Montreal Canadiens rolling in here at a plus 235 underdog price. Interesting, especially when they've been able to win the last couple versus the Florida Panthers and have played them very strong. Florida is a minus 295 favorite at home. And that the puck line odds, not great value for the Florida Panthers to cover that puck line, especially with their history versus Montreal. Laying 1.5 coming in at minus 112. Montreal plus 1.5 coming in at minus 108. I like Montreal plus the point, plus the 1.5, and I do think it's worth a sprinkle here on the money line. You look at Montreal and they need to stop this losing streak they're on. They've lost their last 5. Friday's lost to the Carolina Hurricanes 4-1. They are at home versus the Panthers on Tuesday. So I do look at this. We've got the Battle of the Atlantic out there. Florida has won their last 2. They're off the overtime game versus Utah, where they really locked down defensively. That was that 2-1 win. That they are again in Montreal on Tuesday and Wednesday at Toronto. So for the Florida Panthers, they know that they're going to be looking ahead once they're in Montreal to that back-to-back situation with the Leafs on deck because they're sitting second in the Atlantic. Toronto has 1 point on them, and they are 1 point and 1 game behind them. So it's a hard situation if they don't win both of these matchups. The Florida Panthers, you've got them as huge favorites in both of them, especially if they win this one today. I think what we're going to see is Florida more than likely make that push in this one, lose the next game in Buffalo with that look-ahead situation to Toronto, because Florida knows they need to get these wins. They need to get these points. They want that first place in the Atlantic. Florida has given up 3.3 goals per game over their last 3. We've seen Montreal being able to score, and they're able to win these faceoffs as well. Montreal has been allowing those goals as well. 5.3 goals per game on average over their last 4. So I'm going to look at this one to go over. I think Caulfield should be able to come out nice and strong for us. I'll take him for the goal at plus 220. I'm going to take him for 2+ points as well at plus 230. 63 points on the season. So if he gets to 2 points, that would be 65 points. He also has 34 goals. So goal number 35 is loading. So I like both of those looks, 24 assists out there. He's been strong versus the Florida Panthers as well. We look at him versus the Florida Panthers. He scored in each of the last 3 meetings. So look for Caulfield to come out nice and strong. 7 goals and 4 assists in 12 games versus the Panthers. So this is where he shines. Now, we're looking at the Florida Panthers here. They've won their last 7 home games, but haven't covered that puck line. So I do think Montreal on the puck line is worth a look. Brad Marchand here started for Florida in his debut in their last game out versus Utah. Now, in that game, he was able to pick up a point. I did expect him to get a goal. You guys know that we were riding with him in the first period as well in that goal. and those points, but not unable to cash it. Thankfully, we split those 3 bets upon one unit. Looking at this one tonight, though, I think he's in for a hot night. I do think we're seeing the goals. I'm liking the over in this. And because of that, I'm going to look at Brad Marchand to come out here nice and strong. 21 goals, 27 assists for 48 points on the season. 2+ points for him tonight, coming in at plus 360. That anytime goal, I do think it's loading before Florida heads off on a road trip. The fans already behind him, throwing those rats onto the ice. Give me Brad Marchand for the goal at plus 200. And he did get an assist, but 4 shots on goal versus Utah in that last game. Versus the Montreal Canadiens in his career, we've seen Brad Marchand have 17 goals, 31 assists for a total of 56 points. Now, looking at a player that has been so hot here for the Florida Panthers, definitely is a Sam Bennett. Point number 50 loading for him tonight. You're going to have to pay the price if you want to take it. Minus 156 for Sam Bennett for the point, but he does have 49 points, 25 goals, 24 assists. So if you want to parlay him, maybe with Sam Reinhart or Brad Marchand for those points, I do think it's a strong way to go. Sam Bennett over his last 10 games has 6 goals and 4 assists. So definitely somewhere you want to look. Again, I like the over 5.5 in this game. You're going to have to pay the price, though, at minus 128, but I do think it is worth it. I could see this being a 4-3 coin flip win in this game. Thank you so much, Hall. Yeah, every day of the week. The weekends, of course, we got to be here because they are the biggest days out there on the ice. But we will be back for that second show, you guys. A $5 to a $3.5 million payday waiting for you today. It's a realistic ticket. I freaking love it. Please share that, Brian. And if you win, I hope we still see you around here. But if you win, I would definitely understand why you disappeared. Quickly, you guys, I've got to get into the green room for SportsGrid. Let's look at the Buffalo Sabres versus the Washington Capitals. The Buffalo Sabres are a plus 250 dog here on the road. The Washington Capitals, $3 favorite, minus 315. Total of 6.5. And yes, I'm talking fast. Sorry, you guys. We got the 6.5 juice to the under at minus 140. James Reimer has won his last 3 starts here for the Buffalo Sabres, allowing a total of only 8 goals on 93 shots on goal. So he's hot right now, you guys. He's got a 2.67 goals against average over those last 3 with a 925 save percentage in that span. So he has been coming out nice and strong versus the Capitals in his career too. We've got solid numbers for James Reimer. 6-4-2 with a 2.26 goals against average. So while these teams trend to that over, man, this is a hard one to take to the over with what we've seen out of James Reimer. They're 7-0-2 in their last 9 meetings to that over with an average of 7.8 combined goals per game over those 9 games. So hard one to take the over. I do think this probably starts off hot in the first period. And then these goaltenders locked down. I'll look at both teams to score in the first period at plus 160. The over 1.5 is way too highly juiced, but I definitely wouldn't blame you if you want to throw that into a parlay. Looking at Logan Thompson, we know how strong he's been in March. He's got a 2.48 goals against average and a 904 save percentage in his 8 starts in March. So he's been coming out so nice and strong. The Capitals have lost the last couple, though. They lost that game on Thursday to the Minnesota Wild 4-2. And we're looking at a Sabres team that's off the loss to the Flyers yesterday. So second night of a back-to-back. No goal out of Tage Thompson. So we're going to go to him tonight. He only had 2 shots on goal. That's uncharacteristic of Tage Thompson. So I'm looking for a strong performance. He spent just over 17 minutes on the ice, but they will be at the Senators on Tuesday to end this road trip. And then we have the Capitals with a game loading versus the Bruins on the road, and then the Canes on Wednesday. First in the Metro, locked in their playoff spot, 103 points in 72 games. Now we are seeing the Sabres 8th in the Atlantic. They've gone 6-4 in their last 10. They've been stepping it up. They won the last meeting versus the Capitals, and they've won 3 of the last 4. But when we really break it down, 3 of the last 4 meetings, the majority of those have been at home for the Buffalo Sabres, because when you look at the Capitals, they've won their last 6 home games, and the Capitals versus the Sabres have won their last 3 at home. So they've had that strength on home ice. They're 24-7-6 at home this season. I do think the Capitals are the right way. Just no way to bet it, as Buffalo is going to try to keep this tight. So give me both teams to score in the first period at plus 160, and this to probably slow down after that. If we get a higher total. I will be looking at that under for a live line. So join me on the grid. I'll take Chags Thompson for the anytime goal at plus 200 and Ovechkin. It's going to cost you if you want Ovi. He has 41 career goals in 66 games versus Buffalo. He hasn't scored since that Tuesday game versus the Winnipeg Jets, giving him 889 career goals. He's 5 away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's record. I do think he can score in this one, but it's going to take a hot minute for that goal to come in. I don't think he's the first goal scorer, or I don't think he scores in that first period. I would look at Dylan Strome probably to get on the board first. So let time tick away. If we miss a bet, we miss a bet, but I'm not laying minus 115 to minus 125 on Ovi right now. Let the time tick in that third period, come back in on Ovi for that anytime goal. You're going to get it at like plus 600. So I just can't lay the juice. Then the Vancouver Canucks versus the Winnipeg Jets. You guys, we got Denko versus Hellebuck. The Winnipeg Jets rolling in here as a large favorite at minus 225. Total of 5.5 minus 152 to the under in this one. I was looking at the team totals, trying to break them down. The Vancouver Canucks, their team total 2.5. It's minus 176 to the under. That's the bet I wanted, not the juice I'm willing to lay. So that is where I wanted to go. But could we see Winnipeg put up 4 goals? Hell yeah. The Winnipeg Jets are so strong offensively. We look at this team on the power play and what they're able to do. And I know Vancouver has a strong kill. Their kill is 82.5%. The power play for the Winnipeg Jets is 30.1%. But the thing is, Vancouver's been on this long road trip. They're off the loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets on Friday. It was a shootout loss, 7-6. They've gone 5-3-2 in their last 10 games. This is their last game of 6 on the road. Like I said, 3 of those games have gone to OT. 2 of those OT games have gone all the way to shootout. You've got to think we're getting tired here if we're the defense of the Vancouver Canucks. And I do think Quinn Hughes steps up. Quinn Hughes, the offensive defenseman out here for the Vancouver Canucks, needs to play a pivotal role in this game today. I do think even if Vancouver only gets 2 goals, Quinn Hughes still can get 2 points out there. He's going to be the player that drives those goals. So I would look at Quinn Hughes for his points today. He's got 70 points, 16 goals, 54 assists. 2+ points is plus 285. Again, risky with only 2 goals expected from me out of the Vancouver Canucks. But again, we can't bet that. So we're going to stay off the under 2.5 because of the juice. But Winnipeg, I do expect them to score 4 goals. So give me the Winnipeg Jets over 3.5 goals. That's coming in at plus 130. Now, Demko has strong numbers versus the Jets, but terrible numbers this season. He's 8-6-3 on the season. Yes, it's a 2.82 goals against average. So I like that number, but that save percentage, 892, against a team like the Winnipeg Jets, whose power play is so powerful, who are going to bring that speed, who are going to spend a lot of time in his zone. I do think the Winnipeg Jets can get 4 goals. We saw in that last game out versus the Devils. They came out hot and fast. They're 7-3 in their last 10. And they do have a road trip loading. Interesting road trip. They've got the Kings, Vegas, and Utah are their next 3 games. And they're home versus the Blues on a Monday, and then the Stars on the road. Then the Blackhawks on next Saturday. So it's going to be a loaded slate out there for the Winnipeg Jets to finish this stretch. First in the center, 104 points in 73 games. We know Vancouver's fighting for something. So could we see this being an overtime game? Absolutely, we could. Now, Kyle Connor, one note here. He did have a baby before that Devils game. He came out, he got 2 assists, he was flying on the ice. I do think he gets the goal tonight. Kyle Connor for the goal at plus 125 is where I'll go. He has 88 points, 37 goals, and 51 assists. Mark Scheifele, always a good look as well. He didn't disappoint us in the last game. He's got 1 goal and 8 assists over the last 10 now, and we were able to get him for that goal in the last one. So looking at that, Brock Besler also is loading for goal number 25 for the Vancouver Canucks. So definitely someone to watch and see how he's playing. Jake DeBrusk also loading for goal number 25 as well. So 2 players, you could look at their points tonight or just look at the points for Quinn Hughes, or take one of them, whoever you think is going to get that point with them. But you guys, like I said, crazy day here. I've got to get in the green room for In-Game Live. Join me over there with Scott Wetzel from noon Eastern to 2 p.m. We will come back for another Puck It with Joe. Stay tuned for the update on when that is going to be. I'm guessing 3 p.m. Eastern is when I should be able to do the rest of these games out there for you guys. I appreciate you so much for being here. John, good morning. We're wearing green. We're going to make some freaking money today. That is for sure. You guys, you're welcome, Dev. But you guys, you mean the world. Thank you for being here on the daily. We will jump into that Utah-Chicago game at 3 p.m. Eastern. So join me back here for another Puck It with Jo on SportsGrid TV on X-Men, if I can talk this morning. Yeah, we will be here. So we'll see you then, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today for these first 3 games. Best of luck in your bets. Join me over on in